Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. This week I've got a ton of good information. The world of fishing, and I'm talking about my world of fishing, which basically starts up at Liberty Island to the north, reaches down to Tracy. Out to the west, we're going to be talking about the Sacramento River, and to the east, my world stops at the port of Stockton. I guess it's right in there in the Delta. A lot of great Delta news. So with that, I want to start off by congratulating all the young anglers who sent in pictures with your first fish or your PB. Seemed like there was a ton of you out there this week. And I also want to just commend all your parents for taking you guys out fishing. And I want to talk about, or just give my parents a shout out for taking me out when I was a kid. It really changed my life. So parents, you guys that are taking your kids out, you're changing your kids' life, and it's going to be for the better, especially if they get into fishing and they take this sport up, and it will be a lifelong game changer for your children. So congratulations to everybody out there fishing. And with that, let's take a look at a few of these pictures with some of these young anglers that caught their first fish. Then we'll get right into the report. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report for July 30th. I want to start off with a little river news, then we'll jump right into the report. Big congratulations to Rob and Rachel out at the Bass Hole Tackle Shop. 5 years in business. Congratulations, you guys are doing great. Sunday, August 16th, they're having their 5-year anniversary sale. They're going to have some great bargains inside the shop. They're also going to be conducting their swap meet. So if you want to come out, buy, sell, or trade, come on out. If you want a booth or a table, hit Rob up. I've got his number up there. Give Rob a call. Tell him I want to come out. I need a table. Set me up. I'm going to be selling some of my stuff. So that is the Bass Hole Tackle Swap and 5th anniversary sale. Again, Sunday, August 16th. We'll see you guys out there. With that, let's jump right into the report. Let's start with Clear Lake. I talked to Nino out at Clear Lake Outdoors. I don't know what's going on with Clear Lake other than I guess it was just voted the top bass fishery in the United States for the 2nd year in a row. People are just catching fish up there like it's crazy. I don't know what's going on. I just don't know. But anyhow, Nino, very good. Not as many fish in numbers as there were a week or two ago. Instead of catching 40 or 50 fish in a morning or evening session, they're probably catching 30 or 40 fish. The good news is the bigger fish are showing up. A lot of 6 and 7 pounders. I talked to Nino Tuesday. I think they had just had, I think it was an 11 or 12 pounder come in, reported at the shop. A couple double digits. This is all in one day. And you know, 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s daily coming into the shop. And I'm going to give you bad news to start off, and this isn't bad news, it's just I need to tone it down a little bit for Clear Lake. Two things that aren't really happening up there for some reason. There's not a great topwater bite, it's just lackluster, and the big bait bite is not really happening like it should. But the fishing is fantastic. You can go up there and catch 30 or 40 fish in a morning session. You come back out in the evening, or you fish through the day if you want to catch 100 fish, I guess, but you really don't need to do that. Nino is flipping and pitching, throwing a jig, throwing worms. He's not using any scope, so he says that's been great. You don't have to look at your electronics. You don't even have to turn your electronics on if you want. Just run the bank, run the docks, you're going to catch fish. There are people using the scope. They're hover strolling. They're catching fish. It's just been a fun time. It's junk fishing, and the fish are just on a bite, and the big fish are showing up. There is a algae bloom up there, and Nina was saying, you know, they're going to get some 100-degree weather, so don't expect to go up there and find crystal clear water. There's going to be some goop on the water no big deal. You wipe your boat down at the end of the day, you catch 40, 50 fish. Who cares if you wipe your boat down? Again, thanks to Clear Lake Outdoors. Let me put their number up there. If you need any information, you need to call them, give them a call, talk to Nino. He'll get you straight. Great guy. They have all their employees are great up there. So head into Clear Lake Outdoors and get up there and catch some fish. I got to talk to a chance to talk to Aaron Jones up at Central Valley Bait and Tackle. We talked about fishing Don Pedro, and I had got some reports that it was just so last week and really not very good. Rob was up there. He had a tough time, fish for a couple of days, didn't do real well. I'd also got some reports the fishing had been slow. This week I got a report from one of the locals up there, and he said, well, one of the reasons it's so slow is because they have had so much traffic on the lake. A lot of people are up there skiing, just having fun. It's middle of summer, and weekends have been very busy up there. Weekdays, not so much. I talked to Aaron. He confirmed the slow fishing. He's still catching fish, but the main body of the lake, where he feels most of the fish are deep. Anywhere he's been getting fish down to 60 feet. He starts at about 25 with the jig, and he works his way out to the different humps and saddles that he fishes in deeper water. But the fishing has been slow. Not a great topwater bite going on. There are a lot of shad in the 5 mile an hour areas, a lot of bait in those areas where the traffic is, the 5 mile an hour areas. Obviously the traffic's not in there for skiing and stuff, but the fish don't seem like they're chasing those shad. So most of the fish that are catchable are on the main body of the lake where there is a lot of traffic, but it's been a little tough up there. I also talked to John Leasty. He's fishing Maloney's. He's saying Maloney's isn't on fire either. He had a trip the other day. His client wanted to fish big baits. They caught about a dozen fish on big baits. Nothing huge. When John's going out fishing big baits up there, he's looking for fish probably 6, 7, 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds. John's got some huge fish up there. They got about a dozen fish up to about 3.5 pounds. Fishing was slow. John did throw a few shaky heads and things. He said you can still pick up a lot of the spots out there, but it's hot and it's slow. So Mother Lode Lakes, not really clicking. I think if I was going to head up somewhere, I'd probably head up to Clear Lake and try my luck up there. So with that, let's get right into the Delta, and let's talk about a little bit about what the weekly tournaments produced, and then Rob Cloutier is going to talk in depth about what he's been seeing out here, and he's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for the Delta reports. And I also want to make sure I'll give you my take, and I've got a very serious, I don't want to call it serious, very important bait that I want to talk about and tell you what's coming up in the next couple weeks. You guys that fish the Delta will definitely want to hear my take today. Thursday tournament, they had 9 boats. 16 was number 1, 16-7 took first, 16-5 second, and 14-8. So right around there, 15, 16 pounds, 9 boats. Not bad fishing. That was the Thursday tournament. The UFC, they had, that's the frog tournament. Congratulations to Garrett Bradshaw and Gabe Snyder. They won the pro division, 61 boats on the pro side. First place was 21 pounds, a little over 21 pounds. That's a 2-day limit. I think they had 15 pounds one day, and then a little bit of a drop off the second. Not great fishing. They had the big fish of the tournament, which was a 10-2, and they cashed in a check of over $5,000. So congratulations to Garrett and Gabe. On the AM side, they had 70 boats. First place was 18.6 pounds. That was John Woodall and Tommy Rice. They had a big fish of 6.5. So all in all, the frog fishing was just okay, and that's what I'm getting from most of the people, the reports that I get. They're going out, the guys that are sticking with frogging, it hasn't happened. They're catching fish, but it's tough fishing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob. We've got a pretty in-depth discussion that we had, and we'll check that out. Then I'll get back with you and I'll talk about my take, and then I'll let you guys get out and start fishing the Delta. Rob, what's going on out here? Everybody's catching fish. I want you to talk to the average weekend angler. Tell them what they need to bring out here, what they need to look for, and what they need to do to catch some fish. And do they need something like this?
You know, these things, man, I can't keep them on the shelf. As you can see, I've got quite a few of them here. They are catching fish. Guys are getting really big bags. I've heard a lot of tournaments being won on these right here. Different ways to rig them. There's different options. There's blue ones, white ones, green ones. Awesome bait. I've got them. I've got quite a few. They've been catching them on the river. You know, I heard last weekend the guys that won the golden mussels that they were throwing these, and that's what they caught their big bag on. Again, just a rumor. Don't know if it's 100%, but that's what I hear there. Other than that, the bite's really heating up. The topwater bite's phenomenal right now. If you haven't been throwing that spook, I've been throwing the spook more than the frog just because that noise it's making. There's kind of bait fish in the system. They're kind of reacting to that. So I've been throwing that spook more than anything. The buzzbait's a key player. That drop shot, also putting big fish in the boat too. So don't be scared to throw that drop shot and just slow it down. If you're around fish and you're catching them, whether it be spinnerbait, crankbait, chatterbait, throw that drop shot there. There's more of those guys with them. And I found these fish to be deeper and in holes. And when I catch one or two, I usually catch 4 or 5 more with that guy too.
Any certain colors with the drop shots?
You know, I go back and forth between Orange Crusher, Oxblood, and then Margarita Mutilator MM3. I think all those options are really good. I also throw a trickworm a lot too, in that green pumpkin and that big Texan. I go back and forth depending on water clarity and kind of what I see and what I judge right there. Those are my 6 favorite colors that I go back and forth on, more favoring that green pumpkin than anything. That big Texan will be a big player in that trickworm later fall. I really like it just because that cinnamon color, the fish tend to react to it for me more than anything. But again, I've been catching them on a variety of that topwater. Again, that spook. The frog's there. I've had a lot of guys come in talk about catching big fish on a frog. That 9-10 pounder range was caught the other day. I think Danny caught it on that kicker frog. Awesome, beautiful fish. He's got a video out. But again, you know, the spinnerbait, the crankbait, the chatterbait, it's wide open. And the Cinco, the worms, you don't really have to put those guys on. I know last month we talked about it and we were only getting them really on worms. Now they're really reacting to everything from that crankbait to that spinnerbait to that chatterbait. And they're all decent fish with a couple big ones being brought in.
Depth has been really important to me along with moving water. How important is that to you, the depth and what the water's doing as far as water movement?
So depth is huge actually. These fish late summer, we have water temps in the high 70s right now, I believe. They want to be deep. They want to be where water's cooler with that current. So I'm fishing more of that 10 to 20 foot on these ledges more than anything. And that's where I'm getting these bigger bites.
On the bottom?
On the bottom right there. So that's where I'm getting these bigger bites. You'll catch them up shallow, but you're going to get that 1.5, that 2 pound. And everybody else is catching those guys too. Fun to deal, but I'm looking for that bigger bite, and I get that bigger bite a little bit deeper in the current, in the cooler water. These fish have a spot to rest. They'll be sitting on a ledge. I throw that worm, that jig. They love it. They're sitting down there.
Are you going out off of the points, or are you finding the ledges? And what are you fishing to get down that deep? Or is that where you're throwing worms, or is that where you're throwing spinnerbaits and things to get down there? How are you staying in that zone, and how close do you have to be to the ledge before you get off into no man's land?
So typically what I'll do, I'll parallel with that ledge right there, and I will fire either one of 2 things. I'll fire down there. First is that jig, 1/2 ounce jig. Any green pumpkin, brownish jig is what I really like. The hook has to be a good hook though for out here.
Yeah, let's forget about these guys here. So I want to get your deal now.
Yeah.
Now you throw that thing out there. Are you hopping it back, or are you fishing it slow?
So it depends now. If it's a grassy area, I will do a fast hop and kind of get it through that grass where it's ripping out and kind of doing this thing right there. If it's a sandy, clammy bed, I'm just more of a light drag, maybe a little hop, and I'm just seeing if there's anybody down there chasing it. I do use my active target quite frequently when I'm doing this. Unless I'm familiar with the area, I won't really turn it on. But if I'm just checking something out and I see a ledge and I want to explore it, I will turn on my active target. I will look down there and I'll watch that jig as it's hopping around or dragging down there and what the fish relate to. Once I start catching them, I catch 1 or 2 there with that drop shot or that jig, I'll bring out that chatterbait or I'll bring out that spinnerbait, slow roll it, try to get that bigger fish to bite. Usually you catch the smaller ones on that worm or that jig off the bat, get those guys out of the way, and then those bigger fish will pull up and take their spot, and then they'll ambush that bait as it comes through a second time.
That's high-end stuff.
Yeah, it's getting a little deep. Yeah. The basics is You know, if you want to catch a better fish right now, go deeper, find these ledges, find these edges, drag that worm, you'll catch them, you know?
Yeah, I got a frog in my throat. Maybe one of the ones I was using the other night. But anyhow, we'll get back into the, what the heck's going on?
I don't know. You're dying over there. We'll get back into it. Rob from the Bass Hole Tackle Shop, Steve from In Deep on the Delta. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
See you guys. All right, I'm back, and I am okay. I got that frog out of my throat, and I'll give you my take on what's going on out here. But first, the big news that that I want to relate to everyone is stay tuned. You guys know Coach Ted and I keep in contact. Coach Ted has been out there. He has been fishing, and he has been slaying fish, and he is going to talk about it. He's fishing an urchin bait, and when he started out fishing the urchin bait, he was drop shotting it and doing very well. And I'm talking about Ted has been getting some 5, 6, 7, maybe fish up to 8 pounds on this bait. But what I'm really going to get him to open up about, and this video will come out hopefully next week, might be 2 weeks. It depends on what's going on. But Ted has been using these urchin baits as just a subsurface bait, not a surface bait, but just under the surface, and he has a technique that he has been slamming the fish. Can't wait for that video, and be tuned in to In Deep on the Delta if you're interested in fishing these urchin baits. Ted will talk about not only how he's catching them with this new technique, this subsurface technique, but he'll also talk about how he's been getting with drop shot. Now, I also have been talking about this 5-inch swim bait that we're getting on Temu, and I've told everybody go out and get them. They're catching fish. Nate and I tried to put in a request I'm going to buy a bunch of these baits, believe me, to get some, and they are all out of the prime colors. The only color they had was like in a pink color, so I did not I didn't order any of those. Nate said, wait a week, we're going to look and see if these baits come in new colors, if they restock, and if they are, I will keep you I'll keep you informed on that. If not, I'm going to have to buy some of these baits and do a paint job on them or something, because they are still catching fish, and it's the little, I'm going to have to just call it the Temu bait. It does have a name, but it's a knockoff of a Japanese bait, and we're going to call it the Temu bait. I'll let you guys know as soon as they get them where you can buy them, and if I get a bunch of them, like I say, I'll share them with you guys for whatever price they're selling for. With that, what's happening here on the Delta? Well, I'm still getting 1, 2, 3 reports a week on stripers, most of them coming out of the west up around Liberty, and the guys that are going out seem to be catching fish out there, but there's just not a lot of interest. And I think in the Central Delta there's so many small fish that it's just not a viable thing to do, to go out there and target stripers. There are people catching stripers while they're fishing for bass. They're mostly small, but stripers are on the back burner. Everybody seems to have been catching a lot of fish this last week, 10 days, but I have some news that's not so great here on the Delta, and that full moon is dropping out, so I think the fishing is going to slow down this week. We have had water temperatures from high 70s, 78, 79. I have a feeling by the end of next week when I talk to you, we're going to have water temperatures in the 80, 81, 82 degrees. Water clarity is good in the Central Delta. I know the guys going down south and the guys that are up north have talked about a little less visibility, but that's not hurting any of the fishing out here. There's not a lot of traffic on the river, so we don't have, it's not getting beat up. Not a lot of fishermen out here, really. A few, the tournament guys are kind of burning off. The UFC was last week, but not a lot of guys out here. I've been out almost every day, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of boats out here. I have experienced a decent to good bite in the morning and the evening. Not great. There are big fish that are starting to come up. This week I didn't connect on any of my big fish. I'll tell you, I went out Monday. I wanted to spend all night out here. I prepared brought my sleeping bag, brought everything I needed. Went out Monday. Had a decent evening. Probably caught about 10 or 12 fish. up to about 3.5 pounds. The bite was going to be after midnight. Where I was at about 3 a.m. there was going to be a good salooner activity and a good tide. So I fished till about 11 o'clock. The after dark bite was decent. I was catching fish, only 2-pound fish, didn't get any big fish. But the bottom line was, man, it was a beautiful evening. 8 to 10 mile an hour breeze, no mosquitoes, everything was looking good. I went to bed about 11 o'clock. I was going to get up about 3 and fish through the AM, and man, about 2 o'clock that wind died out and the mosquitoes got vicious. I literally had to pack up and go home, and I didn't get to fish that next morning. The mosquitoes are out. If you are going to fish into the evening or get out there real early, just bring some spray and expect to have some mosquitoes. Come on out. The fishing dies off about, topwater bite dies off about 7:30, 8 o'clock. The fishing remains good till about 10, and then it really drops off. It's all tidal related after that. The evening bite starts about 45 minutes before the change of light bite. Any topwater will work. Walking baits have been especially good. Poppers have been doing well, and then the bigger baits, rats, wake baits, things like that, they're actually producing now. So it's a fun bite. Midday, you're going to want to punch. You're going to want to stay around cover. Rob and I talked about that, or Rob talked about that. And I think as this sun gets more intense, the water temperatures start to get hotter and hotter, punching is going to come into effect, and I have a feeling that as the frog fishing is also going to get better, these fish are going to be taking cover. And for those of you who are froggers and punchers, it's coming. It's coming. The midsummer is going to be here, and that's when these techniques excel. With that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Keep your cards and letters rolling in, especially you guys that are sending the pictures and the reports. I really appreciate them. With that, stay tuned. Remember, we're going to have that big video coming up with Coach Ted, and we're going to talk about urchin baits. And by the way, there's a lot of other people catching fish on those urchin baits out here. So with that, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Go out, have some fun, and be safe.